Meet Jonathan Bird, one of the world's top underwater nature cinematographers. Traveling the world on assignment for all the major networks, he is an Emmy Award-winning authority on the underwater world. In freshwater or salt, reefs, wrecks, or caves, Jonathan documents the world beneath the waves. Welcome to the Blue World.
I've always wanted to know what it's like to work in a big aquarium, so I came to the New England Aquarium in Boston to learn what it takes to be an aquarist. How hard can it be?
Founded in 1969, the New England Aquarium is one of the most famous public aquaria in the United States and an icon of Boston. Over 1 million people visit the New England Aquarium every year to see amazing exhibits and the world-famous giant ocean tank, a 200,000-gallon tropical coral reef exhibit. I arrived nice and early to meet Sherry Floyd, the senior aquarist.
Hi, Sherry.
Hey, Jonathan, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
This is my coworker, Elisha.
Hi, nice to meet you.
She's going to be spending a good portion of the day with you today.
Oh, great.
Whip you into shape.
Lucky you.
Okay, we're going to be feeding sharks in the giant ocean tank today, but before we do that, you're going to have to earn your dive in the giant ocean tank.
Uh-oh.
We're going to start by scrubbing the floor. So
Ooh.
come with me.
I can hardly wait. Shh, people work here.
Dozens of aquarists work here, and I'm going to find out what it takes to keep the exhibits running by becoming an aquarist in training. I must look smart because they start me right away on an important job.
Being an aquarist is hard work.
Soon, Sherry recognizes my natural talents and moves me up to something with much more responsibility.
Okay, ready?
I'm an aquarist in training, baby, right here.
But cleaning the drain is definitely paying my dues.
You know, when I thought I was going to be an aquarist today, I figured I'd be feeding the fish and hanging out with scientists, learning all kinds of biology, but I'm getting goo out of a drain.
At last, I've graduated to something important. Food preparation. All the fish need something special to eat, and all of that food has to be prepared in advance.
Needs cabin. Oh yeah, smells good, huh?
Fishy.
We keep it in
Squid are one of the main items on the menu, and they have to be prepared by removing the beaks and then cutting them into appropriately sized pieces.
All right, buddy, you're getting debeaked.
flip the tentacles open.
Okay, tentacle man.
Pop it like a pimple.
Like,
It's from the bottom.
this?
Yeah, and then pull it out with your fingers.
oh, dude.
Ugh.
Ugh.
You can give it to me.
Oh, thanks. Oh, look, some squid goo.
Oh, yeah, lots of
That's
good
goo.
stuff.
Oh, delicious. This would be a bad time to cut yourself. Okay, so I have some little squid rings.
Yep. So then we'll put
We
that.
deep fry them?
No.
Oh, good gracious. Look
So
at the
this
size
is a
of that
large
thing.
squid.
I'll say.
This is
Oh.
what the sharks eat.
Oh, yummy.
So the beak is much larger here.
Food preparation takes a lot of time, and it has to be done 4 times a
Yes,
day.
wow. Okay.
What else can I show you guys?
Ew.
Oh, it's not. So
Well,
yeah.
so far, there's nothing here that I really want to eat,
Oh, come on.
except for this squid.
You'd eat a squid. You'd eat a squid.
No, I wouldn't.
Here, you can hold that.
Next, I learned to burp the air out of the swim bladder of a smelt so it will sink.
You want to burp one?
Sure, I'll burp one.
They're very slimy.
Oh, a slimy smell.
Push like up the
like
stomach.
this.
Push from down
I'm
up.
gonna aim them at you when I do
No,
this.
no.
Oh.
Then I remove the roe from capelin. The eggs are food for smaller animals in the exhibits, and the fish themselves are fed to larger animals.
Fish eggs.
Yeah.
And
Do they smell fresh?
they smell very fishy.
It's about as fresh as you get.
Finally, it's out to the GOT, the giant ocean tank, to start feeding some of the fish. I'm surprised to learn that the fish are hand-fed.
It's hard to believe that with this big tank, we have to actually sit here and feed specific fish. You can't just throw the food in. You have to actually pick and choose which fish you're feeding. That seems like a lot of work to me. Here you go. Oh yeah, good job.
Finally, Sherry gives me a briefing on what to expect in the GOT, and I start suiting up for my dive. Outside, it's the middle of winter in Boston, with temperatures below freezing. But I'm getting ready to do a tropical dive. I check my camera, and it's off to the dive site.
And off I go.
Down the hallway and through the double doors. I'm really excited about my dive, but I can't help worrying about what tasks lay ahead of me in my aquarist training program.
All right, it's the moment of truth. It's February in Boston, and I'm going diving. With no hood. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go.
I hit the warm water with a splash while hundreds of people watch and head down below the surface to swim with the fish in this enormous fish tank. Except for all the people looking in through the glass, it would be easy to believe that this was a real Caribbean reef. There are so many fish and the water is so clear, I feel just like I'm diving at some beautiful Caribbean island. Of all the animals in the tank, of course, the sand tiger sharks are my favorite. The aquarists keep them well fed, so they're not aggressive at all, but they are beautiful to watch. Unfortunately, I have to work. A diver has to scrub these windows every day to keep the algae from growing on them. I tried to tell them I don't do windows, but an aquarist's job is never finished. Meanwhile, Sherry is checking the health of the fish. She's down on the bottom examining a nurse shark that has a small cut. When I finally finish the windows, Sherry demonstrates how she feeds the sand tiger sharks. They aren't always hungry since they're fed regularly, but the aquarists use a pole to feed them because when they do decide to eat, you wouldn't want your fingers anywhere near those teeth. I hang back and film the action for a while, but soon Sherry decides that I'm ready to try feeding the fish. This is exciting. I finally get to do the fun stuff. She hands me some squid, and I look for a taker. The pressure is on because everyone's watching. A cow-nosed ray comes up and tries to take the squid from me, but I haven't quite gotten the hang of it. The ray gives up and moves on. So I try feeding the nurse shark using the pole, just like Sherry showed me. But talk about getting the cold shoulder. At last, Sherry takes pity on my pathetic attempts and gives me some capelin. I'm told I can't go wrong with this irresistible, delicious fish. My first taker is a cow-nosed ray, and I can't resist giving her a little belly rub as she swims over. I must be doing something right because she takes a lap around the tank and comes back for more. Next, Myrtle the turtle comes over. Turtles are supposed to eat plants and jellyfish. But Myrtle isn't picky. As you can see from her figure, she likes food. And when Myrtle wants food, you just give it to her. Forget the sharks, Myrtle runs this tank. The cow-nosed ray is back for thirds. Aren't they cute? Next, I try my luck with a large pompano. With all the fish fed, my job in the GOT is finished, and I head for the surface. It's been a long but thrilling tropical reef dive right in the heart of Boston. I head back to the swim step. Reluctantly, I must get out of the water.
That was great. 3 sharks, and none of them would eat anything from me. They don't like me.
Back in the dive locker room, I can enjoy a nice clean shower, and I know that the drain won't get plugged up. So what did I learn? Being an aquarist is hard work. It's not all fun and games. Much of the job is devoted to prepping food and cleaning exhibits. But if you love the creatures of the ocean, few things can beat the fun of working with animals like this. And if you're lucky enough to spend a few hours a day diving in the giant ocean tank, well, this just might be the best job in the world. The ocean is full of amazing fish, like this school of surgeonfish feeding on algae on the reef. Colorful anemone fish, or this school of sweepers hiding in the coral for protection. One of the most beautiful but rarely seen fish is the Mandarin fish, found on coral reefs of the Pacific.
Mandarin fish are extremely shy and only come out of the reef at dusk to mate. I'm here in Micronesia on an island called Yap, one of the best places in the world to find mandarin fish. And this evening I'm going on a dive to see if I can find a few.
I enter the water right at sunset. As the light levels get lower on the reef, the daytime fish feed before they must hide for the night. A lot of changes take place on the reef at dusk. Just before the sun sets, I have my best chance of finding a mandarin fish. In the dim light, I search the reef carefully. I can't use a flashlight because it would scare the tiny fish. Mandarin fish are very shy. They rarely leave the protection offered by the nooks and crannies in the reef. There, a small amount of movement catches my eye. A mandarin fish. If I didn't know where and when to look, I would never find it. As the sun sinks lower in the sky, the light levels drop, and something magical happens. The mandarin fish peeks out to see if the coast is clear. These reclusive fish only venture from the safety of their coral home to mate, and they only do it in a narrow window of time at dusk. A male wanders from female to female, courting each one. His goal is to spawn as many times as he can with as many females as possible. He's not particularly choosy about a partner. The females size him up. They're a little more selective about a mate than he is. He's not worried. If one female gets cold fins, another one will jump in at the last minute. Then the male and the female pair up and begin to make practice runs, rising up off the reef, cheek to cheek. At last the pair spawns for real. Rising well above the reef to keep the eggs from being eaten by the coral, the male and the female release their spawn at the same time. the eggs are fertilized in the water column. Over and over, the male spawns as many times as he can, perhaps as many as 10 times in half an hour. The fertilized eggs then drift off into open water to develop into tiny baby mandarin fish. Most will not survive to adulthood. Once darkness comes, the spawning ends. The mandarin fish seek protection in the reef, safe for another day.
Well, it's after sunset and the mandarin fish have finished mating for the night and gone back into the reef. They won't come back out of the reef till tomorrow night. So for now, it's time for me to go to bed.
Don't go away. Jonathan is about to swim with the world's biggest fish, a whale shark.
I've journeyed to the warm and shallow waters of tiny Holbox Island in the Gulf of Mexico to find and film the world's largest fish.
Holbox is barely more than a sandy speck on the map at the northern end of the Yucatan. It's not your typical tourist destination. Until recently, this sleepy island wasn't much more than a fishing village. There are no paved roads, and everyone gets around in golf carts or other non-conventional transportation. The highway here is a stretch of beach where you can hit maybe 20 miles an hour if you have a fast card. Downtown, this island has the charm of a place not yet discovered by throngs of tourists. But everywhere there are signs. Something special has been discovered here. Offshore in the cool waters of the Gulf of Mexico, a giant lurks. I get up early to meet the boats to take me and a few other intrepid snorkelers on the adventure of a lifetime.
Right, let's go find some whale sharks.
Instead of catching fish, these former fishermen are now making their living taking tourists to swim with a fish, a really big fish. Using a GPS receiver to help him navigate, the captain takes us about an hour offshore. Our guide, Andreas, watches the water with a carefully trained eye on the horizon. Soon we pass a pod of dolphins. They circle the boat a few times to check us out, then vanish. Then we come across a group of eagle rays frolicking at the calm surface. I've never seen eagle rays doing this before. I'm not even sure what they're up to. But after a few minutes, we have to move on. We put the boat back in gear and keep looking. A ripple up ahead catches Andreas's keen eye. As we approach, we find a giant manta ray feeding right at the surface, mouth wide open. Mantas can reach 20 feet across, but this is just a small one, only about the size of a car. Finally, Andreas spots what we're looking for, the huge head of a whale shark sticking up out of the water. As we pull the boat up alongside the shark, I can see its massive mouth open and funneling water in like a gigantic storm drain. The shark is feeding. But what could it be eating? It's more than 30 feet long. What could feed such an enormous animal? To find out, I don my snorkel gear and hop over the side. The whale shark passes right in front of me. The water is not very clear, and this is where I get my first clue what is going on here. The sharks have come to this section of the ocean because it's filled with plankton. Whale sharks might be the biggest fish in the sea, but they eat only plankton and small fish. The word plankton comes from a Greek word meaning drifter, so plankton are drifting organisms like these tiny copepods. The water is filled with copepods, jellyfish, and other drifting animals. They might be small, but these planktonic animals are all food for the mighty whale shark. Early in the morning, when the water is calm, the plankton forms a thick layer near the surface.
He's just surface feeding. What the whale sharks do here is they swim across the surface of the water with their mouths open wide, and all that plankton that's sitting right at the surface gets funneled right into their mouths.
The enormous mouth swallows up huge quantities of water. The water comes back out through the shark's gills, but comb-like structures in the gills capture the plankton like an enormous spaghetti strainer. So the whale shark swimming through the water is like a big pool skimmer filtering the plankton for breakfast. Each shark eats hundreds of pounds of food every hour. It turns out that eating plankton is very efficient for a large animal. Conditions here around Holbox Island are perfect for plankton in the summer. The plankton makes the water really murky, but all that food attracts huge schools of fish. It's a bounty that feeds many kinds of animals. Manta rays feed on the plankton. But the whale shark is by far the most impressive animal that comes here. Reaching 50 feet long, whale sharks grow as large as a school bus. But they're completely harmless. All they eat are plankton and tiny fish.
That is incredible. They are so huge. And there's so much plankton in the water that we can only see maybe 20 feet underwater. So they're bigger than the visibility. You can't even see the tail from the head.
I can't believe how many sharks are feeding around the boat. There's so much plankton here that it attracts whale sharks for hundreds of miles around. Some of the sharks have escorts, schools of fish that swarm around them for protection. They too eat the plankton, splashing at the surface as they feed alongside the shark. But when I swim over to investigate, they hide under the shark as if it were a huge swimming reef. Freediving and keeping up with these sharks is hard work.
They don't look like they're moving that fast. I mean, their tail is just, gently swishing back and forth, but they are so big. That tail is so huge that they're actually moving faster than we can keep up with them. You swim as hard as you can for about 30 seconds and then you're pooped and you give up and off they go.
Later, as the sun gets higher in the sky and the air gets warmer, the wind picks up and waves start to form. The plankton layer dissipates, and the sharks get harder and harder to find. They're diving deeper, out of sight. Once they dive below, we have no way to find them, so we head back to shore. My trip to Holbox has been a tremendous success and a lot of fun. The economy of this tiny island has been transformed by this big, harmless, polka-dotted shark. Here in Holbox, people love whale sharks, and they're protected by law. And that's the best part of this story.
Meet Jonathan Bird, one of the world's top underwater nature cinematographers. Traveling the world on assignment for all the major networks, he is an Emmy Award-winning authority on the underwater world. In freshwater or salt, reefs, wrecks, or caves, Jonathan documents the world beneath the waves. Welcome to the Blue World.
Trivia question. What's 2,000 pounds, bright white, and lives in Connecticut? Give up?
Yes, I'm talking about the beluga whale. And while normally one would need to go all the way up to the Arctic to see one, today I'm going to be hanging out with some belugas at the Mystic Aquarium in Connecticut. The Mystic Aquarium is known for a variety of beautiful underwater exhibits, including their sharks and rays, coral, fish, invertebrates, and even moray eels.
The Barracuda exhibit is really cool, but in my opinion, the best one is yet to come.
The Beluga Whale exhibit is outdoors. This impressive lagoon really feels like it's out in the wild. It makes visitors almost feel like they're in the water with the whales. Today I'm joining the staff of beluga trainers to learn what's involved in the care of the 4 beluga whales that live here.
That's a lot of fish. Oh, I get the feeling this is gonna take a while.
My day starts with food prep.
Why do segments like this always start with raw fish?
I meet Kate McElroy, one of the beluga trainers who's going to show me how they prepare the daily meals for the whales.
All right, are you ready to start carrying some fish in?
It all starts with herring and squid.
Herring coming up.
Yeah. You can put it right in there as well.
A frozen block of cephalopods. That's actually kind of gross. Look at his little flat eyeball.
You can put that one right up here for me, and I'm gonna make 4 feeds for the day, so this looks kind of complicated here.
Yeah.
But really all it is each bucket that I weigh out for Juno is gonna have 6.3 kilos in it. And for Keela, 2.6, Naku, 5.3, Naluark, 6.4.
Okay, I can do this.
After the fish have been washed and inspected to be sure they're free of any possible contamination, I weigh out a bucket of fish that will be breakfast for a beluga named Juno.
I feel like I'm on dirty jobs.
It is kind of a dirty job, isn't it?
Weighing out the food for all 4 whales takes about half an hour.
Like, that's too much. Already. So wrong. So wrong. All right.
Once we finish the messy job of weighing out the fish, we can rinse off our gloves and head out to the exhibit for the next morning task. Outside, the staff is already cleaning the exhibit, and I'm going to help. My first order of business is cleaning the big windows to get all the handprints and dirt off so people can see the belugas clearly. Or maybe so they can see us clearly. I'm not actually sure.
I hope you appreciate this. I'm doing this all for you, buddy.
As I work, Juno keeps an eye on me, and I can't help but think maybe he's not impressed.
Okay, I'm slow at the squeegee. But you gotta admit that that is clean, right? Hey, what do you think you're doing over there?
What the heck are you doing now?
So we're gonna move on to the next window. We still gotta get a lot more cleaned.
You want me to actually work?
Yep. So this is a little bit bigger one here.
Big windows mean lots of cleaning, and for some reason I feel like I'm being watched. It's hard to keep my eyes on my work. The whales are incredibly captivating. Next, it's time to scrub the inside of the exhibit to remove the algae that grows on the bottom. The trick, however, is keeping the whales from grabbing the brush and yanking it away from me. Anything that goes into the water becomes something interesting to investigate and possibly play with. For the whales' safety, it's important that I keep them from getting a hold of any of the tools.
Now there's Juno, so that's who we want to pull the pole out if we see. So we'll see.
What are you doing? Oh, dude.
He sensed that you were new, I think.
Uh-oh.
Next, I join trainer Lindsay Nelson, who's preparing to take a weekly blood sample from Naku. This is just a tad more complicated than getting a blood sample from a human. Using a hand signal as a cue, Lindsay instructs Naku to turn around and place her tail up on dry land.
And then I'm going to pull her tail up onto the beach for me on this towel here.
This takes a lot of trust between trainer and beluga because Naku is extremely vulnerable in this position, completely unable to swim.
Right into her vein there, and as you can see, the blood's coming up.
These blood tests are conducted regularly both for research and also to ensure the health of the animals.
After she's done, I'm going to blow my whistle and give her a double tap on her tail, and that tells her she did a great job, and then she knows when she comes back she'll get that fish reinforcement. And then she knows she's coming back for a big fish reward.
Yummy. Is that yummy?
So we do have some capelin.
Yeah.
And
I was
then-
weighing it this morning.
Oh,
That
that's
was
right.
part of my
yes.
job, yes.
So you probably are.
Later in the day, the trainers provide what's called enrichment. You see, belugas are smart and they get bored. To keep them happy, they need to be mentally stimulated.
We can also do audio enrichment. So she has a tambourine, you have a tambourine, and then I also have a drum, so different noises for them to hear.
So the idea behind enrichment is basically to do weird and wacky stuff to entertain the whales.
All right, Juno. Here we go. Ready?
With my enrichment hat in place, I put a pole cam in the water to shoot some underwater video. Since divers are not allowed in the water with the belugas, this is my only opportunity for some fisheye views of the whales. The most important part, of course, is to make sure that none of the belugas grab my camera. Although I'm not allowed to go diving, I can go in the water, in a pair of hip waders like a fisherman.
Do you have questions before we get in?
No, let's go. This is my element, baby.
Okay.
Kate takes me into the shallow part of the exhibit where I will learn a few hand signals. The whales know about 100 hand signals. They've been trained to do everything from a raspberry to a breach.
Really? Again?
It's a lot of weight.
Killing me. Nice.
Yay!
The reward? A fish, of course.
Very nice job.
I learn a little bit about Naku's anatomy. She uses her melon, the rounded top of her head, to direct the sound waves for her echolocation system. This is how belugas find food in the wild. Of course, in the wild, she would live in the Arctic around sea ice, which is why belugas are bright white. And if there's one thing to remember, never splash a beluga. They have excellent aim.
Oh,
There we
beautiful.
go. There we
Beautiful.
go.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure you got the
But I
pole
did
in.
get a kiss,
And there we go. She's up at you already.
and it only cost a fish.
That's a great kiss. It's like I only did it for the fish.
So I spent a day learning a little bit about beluga whales. They're curious, clever, and full of personality. They're the only whales that can bend their necks to look around without moving their whole body. These are amazing animals, and I feel like I've made some new friends. The Bahamas are famous in the diving world for their natural formations called blue holes. A blue hole is typically a somewhat round hole in the ground filled with water. They're often quite deep. Many Bahamian islands are covered in hundreds of these blue holes. Blue holes were formed during the last ice age when sea levels were much lower than they are today. Rain, combining with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, creates a mild acid called carbonic acid, otherwise known as acid rain. When rainwater collects in a small depression, it slowly starts eating away the soft limestone of which the Bahamas Islands are mostly made. Over tens of thousands of years, the hole gets bigger and deeper. At the end of the last ice age, as the Earth warmed, the sea levels rose, and with it the water table. The blue holes filled with water. I've come to Andros in the Bahamas to dive a little-known blue hole called Cousteau's Blue Hole.
It's called that because Jacques Cousteau himself dove here.
My adventure begins at Small Hope Bay Lodge in North Andros. Today I won't be using their dive boats, because we get to this dive site with a truck. Small Hope Bay Lodge dive master Dennis Burrows is taking me on an adventure to a remote area of Andros. We drive through the mangroves to the local highway. Then it's into the forest on a road which appears to be barely more than a trail. A rainstorm passes through, making our journey a little wet. But it just adds to the adventure. Small Hope Bay Lodge owner Jeff Birch has come along to tell me a little bit about Cousteau's Blue Hole.
What do we know about Cousteau's Blue Hole here?
Well, what we know is that Cousteau's Blue Hole is one of the very unique blue holes of what I call the round swimming type blue holes, because it's safe to dive from a recreational perspective, not only from a cave structure perspective. And that is very, very unique.
I finally get my first look at Cousteau's Blue Hole. It looks like a small circular pond, but this is no ordinary pond.
Some of these blue holes are so deep that before scuba divers started exploring them, they thought they were bottomless.
Cousteau's Blue Hole does have a bottom, but it's about 400 feet below. So it's about 4 times deeper than it is wide. The shore around the Blue Hole is mostly limestone, but there are a few muddy places, and cameraman Tim just found one.
Oh, nice!
Get a shot of that! Get a shot of that, Birdman! Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about that.
Hello!
Unbelievable.
Once Tim has been extricated from the mud, it's time to carry our gear down the path from the road. It's a lot of work, but at least the sun came out. In the golden light of late afternoon, our team suits up and prepares to make a dive before the sun gets too low.
That's good. That's good. This is good. That's good.
Todd takes a powerful set of video lights to help lighting the wall and overhangs. Then it's my turn to get in. Next, cameraman Tim joins us. Dennis will be our dive master. He's done this dive many times and knows where to find lots of interesting stuff. The water at the surface is quite green. Sunlight near the surface allows plankton to grow, making the water murky. And the water is fresh. As we sink deeper, the sunlight drops off quickly, and we turn on our video lights. By 50 feet, there is very little light. By 70 feet, there's almost no ambient light at all. Dennis leads our team along the vertical wall with Todd close behind, lighting the place up. We've reached a layer called a halocline where the fresh water above meets the salt water from the ocean below. In this layer, where oxygen-rich water from above meets oxygen-poor water from below, microbial action creates clouds of fine minerals that float in the water. Dennis leads us to a ledge with a deposit that looks like rusty sediment. Above it on the wall are rusty-looking stains made by iron-oxidizing bacteria. They break down iron from the rock into rust, which falls down and collects on the shelf below. This is the same kind of bacteria that makes rusty stains in sinks and toilets. The deeper we go, the clearer the water gets. At 90 feet, the walls are clean white limestone. At 100 feet, we come across a layer of sediment that looks a little bit like a chocolate layer cake. It's called a microbial mat, and it's made of sulfate-reducing bacteria. These bacteria consume organic material like leaves that fall into the blue hole. They operate in anaerobic conditions, meaning where there is very little to no oxygen. In a sense, this type of bacteria essentially breathes sulfate, which it gets from the calcium sulfate that naturally occurs in seawater. The result is toxic hydrogen sulfide and this thick mat of decomposed organic material. The oxygen level in the water at this depth is very low because it's all consumed by other forms of bacteria that require oxygen to decompose the organic matter in the water. Between that and the hydrogen sulfide in the water, fish just can't survive down here. Soon we start making our way up towards the surface again. In the shallows, algae can live because there's sunlight and no hydrogen sulfide. The algae make oxygen, and fish can live here too, although there aren't many. I managed to find a single fish sitting on a ledge. You have to wonder how fish ever got here in the first place. Because the limestone walls of the blue hole are being slowly but constantly dissolved by the water, it has become quite porous. In fact, if I touch it, it crumbles in my hand like a piece of dried toast. It's hard to believe that solid rock can become so fragile. Just under the surface of the water, less than 10 feet deep, the bottom is completely covered in what looks like an encrusting sponge, but it's not sponge at all. When I touch it, bubbles are released, potentially indicating that there's some type of decomposition going on within it. It appears to be some type of microbial mat that has yet to be identified by scientists. It's hard to believe, but even here in shallow water, there are scientific discoveries to be made. We end the dive at sunset. We've seen some amazing and weird phenomena in Cousteau's blue hole. I would have never guessed there was so much going on in a small blue hole like this one. It just goes to show there's no limit to the amazing things to be seen in the blue world.
Don't go away. Jonathan is about to test his freediving skills with a pod of Hawaiian spinner dolphins.
Dolphins are among the ocean's most exhilarating animals, excitable, playful ambassadors of the sea. Whenever a pod of dolphins appears, I always stop what I'm doing and see if they want to play. Dolphin encounters aren't always easy to plan, but there are places in the world where dolphins are regularly seen. And this is one of those places, the Big Island of Hawaii. Surrounded by the warm Pacific Ocean, the Big Island is an amazing place full of breathtaking views, exotic animals, volcanic activity. But I've come to meet a pod of dolphins. It's 8 a.m. and Big Island Divers is putting one of their boats in the water at the marina. Cameraman Todd and I grab our gear and head to the boat where we meet Captain Mike.
We're going to go look around. I got some spies out right now looking for dolphins, and we'll see what feedback I get from them in the next few minutes.
I listen as Captain Mike explains how he will hopefully find us some dolphins, and then we shove off for the open ocean. Soon we're half a mile offshore, cruising in search of dolphins. Ryan Leinbach, or as we call her, the Dolphin Whisperer, is telling us about the Hawaiian spinner dolphins we're hopefully going to meet.
Hawaiian spinner dolphins live here in the Hawaiian Islands, and at the nighttime they go offshore to hunt and feed in the scattering layer. And so they feed on squid, opelu, that kind of stuff. And then as the sun rises in the morning, the dolphins come back to the shoreline to rest and to socialize along our Hawaiian shorelines. What we're probably going to find today is they're either going to be traveling from point A to point B, or they're going to be in a rest estuary.
So we're cruising just offshore looking for Hawaiian spinner dolphins. And since they tend to rest during the day, they're moving slowly. But they may not be very playful. Soon we spot the dorsal fins of dolphins and we circle closer to see what they're up to.
Okay, so with you guys, timing is going to be critical. Like, when we say go, you go. These guys are turning around right here. That's what we want. We want them to stay here.
The dolphins look pretty active, so now is my chance to suit up and see how close I can get.
I'm ready to go.
Ryan slips silently into the water with me and Todd close behind. At first we don't see anything, but then the dolphins come into view. They make a fairly close pass to have a look at us, then they turn and swim away. I swim along behind them for a few minutes, but eventually they give me the slip. But that's okay. If there's one thing I've learned about interacting with dolphins over the years, it's that you need to be patient.
Whew. Well, that wasn't bad for a first try. It was interesting to see them in the water, but they just weren't interested in playing.
We pull the ladder and head off to find a more cooperative pod. Captain Mike has found another pod. Behind the boat, they're doing what spinners are known for: spinning. So we slow down and get ready to try again.
Hopefully this is going to be it.
Yeah. Once again, I drop into the water with my camera and fin my way over towards the dolphins. Soon, Todd and I are in the middle of a big pod of spinners. I do my best dolphin impersonation, freediving down to them as they pass below. But they make my breath-holding skills look pathetic. This group is going slowly because they're actually resting. They hunt at night in deep water, so during the day they rest. Dolphins don't rest the way we do. If they fall asleep, they'll drown. When a dolphin sleeps, it shuts down half of its brain, while the other half stays awake, controlling a slow swim and periodic breathing. After a while, the dolphin swaps sides, letting the other half of its brain sleep. The result is a slow swimming animal that appears fully awake, but not really. Spinner dolphins are not particularly large. They grow to be about the same size and weight as an adult human. But they don't live as long. Estimates are that they only live to be about 20 or so years old. So, after a short but exciting encounter with these majestic and beautiful animals, I watched them swim off into the blue. They need their sleep for tonight, hunting somewhere out there in the deep blue world.